Hi, welcome to lesson 30 of the B2 course. So this is a review lesson. As you know, if you've been following the course, we have regular reviews throughout the course. It's really important when you're learning a language to practice so that you retain and assimilate the new information. This is lesson 30 of the B2 course. My name's Stephanie. And in this lesson, we are going to review things that we have covered in lessons 26, 27, 28, and 29. So if something comes up and you're not sure about it, then it's a good idea to go back to the original lesson where it will be explained in greater depth. This is a review lesson. Okay, so in lesson 30, we will look at 2 grammar points on the modal verbs. We'll start with modal perfect and then move on to modals of deduction. And our vocabulary focus, we will look at verbs of the senses and vocabulary for the body. So these are all things that we have covered in previous lessons. Okay, are you ready? Good. Let's start then with some modal verbs. Okay, so for our first exercise, I have given you 5 modal verbs here. Could, should, would, might, and may. And if you remember in lesson 26, we talked about the difference in meaning of these verbs. So what I'd like you to do is to choose the correct modal verb to complete sentences 1 through to 5. Let's read them together. Number 1, the ladder is unsafe, you have fallen. Number 2, he's not here yet, he have got lost, I'm not sure. Number 3, I was going to use his computer, but I decided not to. Don't worry, he have noticed. Number 4, I have stopped at a cash point. I don't have any cash on me. And number 5, he not have got the message. I left it really late. So remember, the crucial thing here is which modal verb is the correct one to complete the gap. So pause the slide and choose what you think. Okay, let's have a look together, see how you got on. So number 1, the ladder is unsafe, you could have fallen. So I've chosen could here because remember, could is connected to ability. If the ladder is unsafe, there is the ability that the person could have fallen. Okay, number 2, he's not here yet, he might have got lost, I'm not sure. Remember, we talked about might and may being having the same meaning, so may is fine here as well. The important clue is I'm not sure. So we want to suggest possibility, so may or might here. Number 3, I was going to use his computer, but I decided not to. Don't worry, he wouldn't have noticed. Now remember, we're using would when we're sure, when there's certainty. And I think in this sentence, don't worry, the person is conveying they are sure he wouldn't have noticed. Number 4, I should have stopped at a cash point. I don't have any cash on me. Remember using should when you look back at a situation with regret and you reflect on something you should have done. And number 5, he may or might not have got the message. I left it really late. Again, element of uncertainty here. So we want to suggest possibility. So may or might, please. How did you do? Okay, remember, this is a review lesson, so if you'd like to focus on something in more detail, you need to go back to the original lesson. Okay, let's continue then. So, Let's see if you can complete the sentences using an appropriate past modal verb. So we've got 3 different situations that I want you to look back on and reflect. Number 1, I did an MBA course, but I was lazy and got a bad grade. What do you think this person might say? Number 2, my parents persuaded me to do business administration at college, but I regret it. What do you think this person might say? And number 3, I wish I had decided to travel around the world. So note that all 3 situations, the person is looking back and reflecting and possibly regretting something. There's a big clue there. So pause the slide and see if you can write 3 sentences. Okay, obviously there are different possibilities here, but let's have a look at what I've written. So number 1, I did an MBA course, but I was lazy and got a bad grade. I think something like I should have studied more. Number 2, my parents persuaded me to do business administration, but I regret it. I shouldn't have listened to them. And number 3, I wish I had decided to travel around the world. I should have trusted my instincts. And notice here we're using should for each example because all 3 of them, the person is looking back and reflecting and in these situations regretting choices that they made. We talked a lot about how this modal perfect is used to look back on situations in a business context, in a social context too, to comment on what you could have done differently to produce a better result. In our practice example here, we're going to have a look at a text about a group of students reflecting on a recent trip they have taken. And again, I want you to use a past modal to complete the sentences. So look at this text about a group of students reflecting on a recent trip and complete the gaps. With hindsight, to go in the spring. Summer is peak season and the flights were so much more expensive. It definitely better not to choose August because there were so many tourists around. Everywhere was so crowded. Perhaps we also a different destination. Italy is very popular. Somewhere a bit more obscure. It's certainly more of an adventure too. Anyway, we will never know. A better time, but So I have given you the verb to use, but you need to choose the modal. So remember, modal plus have and the past participle. Pause the slide and see if you can complete the gaps. Okay, let's have a look together. With hindsight, we should have chosen to go in the spring. Summer is peak season and the flights were so much more expensive. It definitely would have been better not to choose August because there were so many tourists around. Everywhere was so crowded. Perhaps we also could have chosen a different destination. Italy is very popular. We should have gone somewhere a bit more obscure. It certainly would have been more of an adventure too. Anyway, we will never know. We might have had a better time, but we might not have done. So when you look at this text, there are lots of clues. For example, words like definitely. It definitely would because I'm expressing certainty. Sentences that have got words like perhaps or maybe, you want to convey the sense of possibility. And that's the key thing there. Remember, if you have any questions about modal perfect, look back at lesson 26. Okay, our second grammar topic, modals for deduction. Remember, this was lesson 28. So any questions about this part, lesson 28 is what you need to review. Okay, in lesson 28, we practiced must or can't. So you have a 50-50 chance here, must or can't. Number 1, Andy's not at his desk. He have gone home already. Number 2, Caroline have gone home yet because her car is still in the car park. Number 3, he have been serious. He have been joking. Number 4, the boss have been happy with the team's performance. He's been shouting at them for over 30 minutes. Number 5, she looks amazing. She have lost at least 2 stone. So remember, must is used if you are certain that something did happen, and can't is used if it's impossible. So read the sentences. I'll show you the slide again. Read the sentences and choose must or can't for each one. Okay, and let's check our answers. So number 1, Andy is not at his desk, so he must have gone home already. But number 2, Caroline can't have gone home yet because her car is still in the car park. So remember, we're looking at the evidence and we're making a logical deduction. Number 3, he can't have been serious. He must have been joking. Or you could have the other way. He must have been serious. He can't have been joking. But one, if you choose can't for the first, the second is must, and vice versa. Number 4, the boss can't have been happy. We know he can't have been happy because the evidence, he's been shouting at his team for over 30 minutes. And number 5, she must have lost at least 2 stone. Again, you're looking at the evidence and making a logical deduction based on what you see. Okay, how did you do with that? Remember, any questions, review lesson 28. Okay, we have 5 situations here. We need to complete the sentences using must have or can't have and the clues, the hints that I've given you. So the 5 situations, number 1, when I got home, the window was open. Number 2, I can't find my homework. Number 3, last year the company had to make 50 employees redundant. Number 4, I've been waiting 20 minutes. And number 5, I haven't received my results. So you need to make a sentence using must have or can't have and the hint, the verb, or the word, the expression that I've given you in the brackets. So pause the slide and try to make 5 sentences. Okay, let's have a look together. So situation number 1, when I got home, the window was open. Logically, I must have forgotten to close it. Number 2, I can't find my homework. I must have left it at home. Number 3, last year the company had to make 50 employees redundant. It can't have been easy. Number 4, I've been waiting 20 minutes. The bus must have left already. And number 5, I haven't received my results. They can't have been sent yet. So remember, must if you're sure about something, can't if you think it's impossible, and it's following the same modal perfect structure. Must or can't plus have and a past participle. Well done if you got those 5 correct. Okay, let's move on to some vocabulary review. We're going to start with verbs of the senses. Now, if you cast your mind back and you're following the course in a logical order, this was lesson 27. So any questions about verbs of the senses, review, then go back to lesson 27 where it's explained in more detail. Okay, let's start with a practice activity. Are these sentences correct or incorrect? Okay, I'm seeing the Eiffel Tower from my office. I'm seeing Mr. Takamoto on Monday. One is correct, one is incorrect. I am thinking about taking a short break. I'm thinking that it's a good idea. He's having stomach ache. He's having some work done on his house. So in each pair of sentences, one is correct, one is the correct use, one is incorrect. So pause the slide, have a look and see if you can identify which is the incorrect one and have a think about why. Okay, are you ready to check the answers? So in our first pair, the correct answer is I am seeing Mr. Takamoto on Monday. We talked about the verb seeing having different meanings. So not just a verb of the sense from your meaning using your eyes, but also meaning meeting. I'm seeing Mr. Takamoto on Monday. I'm meeting Mr. Takamoto. And if you use it in this way, if you use see to mean meeting, then you can use it in a continuous tense. However, if you use see, meaning use your eyes, then we don't use it in a continuous tense. So sentence number 1 is incorrect. We can't say I am seeing the Eiffel Tower. It should be I see or I can see. Number 3 and 4, the correct one is I am thinking about taking a short break. Here, thinking in sentence 3 means considering. I'm considering taking a short break. Whereas number 4, it literally means using your brain and therefore not in a continuous tense. Number 4 should be I think it's a good idea. And 5 and 6, he's having some work done on his house is the correct answer, because here to have something done means somebody is performing an activity, whereas number 5, having stomachache, we don't use in a continuous tense. He has a stomach ache. Well done if you correctly identified which ones were correct and incorrect there. Okay, then in our last lesson, lesson 29, we talked about the body. Okay, so we looked at some idiomatic expressions, we looked at some silent letters as well, and we also built our vocabulary, we increased our vocabulary to talk about different parts of the body. Can you remember? Okay, well, let's have a look together. So the first practice activity, we're reviewing the idiomatic expressions we looked at. Okay, so in each of the gaps, you need to put in a body part. Number 1, I really put my in it when I accidentally revealed he was leaving. Number 2, I'm going to be late home. I'm up to my in work. Number 3, go on, tell me, I'm all. Number 4, maybe you should speak to a professional. You might feel better to get it off your Number 5, the holiday cost us and number 6, the bride got cold and called off the wedding. Pause the slide and see if you can complete the idiomatic expressions with the correct body part. Now remember, in lesson 29 we talked about how idiomatic expressions are very difficult to guess. They're something you have to know. So hopefully if you watch lesson 29 you will have remembered some of these. Let's check through our answers. Number 1, I really put my foot in it. Remember, to put your foot in something means to make a mistake by accident, to reveal something accidentally. Number 2, I'm going to be late home. I'm up to my eyes in work. Here, perhaps you can imagine the work on your desk. It's very hot. There's a lot of it. I'm up to my eyes. Number 3, go on, tell me. I'm all ears. So all ears means I'm listening intently. Maybe you should speak to a professional. You might feel better to get it off your chest. You might feel better to confess, to reveal, to talk about it. Number 5, the holiday cost us an arm and a leg. To cost an arm and a leg means to be very expensive. And number 6, the bride got cold feet and called off the wedding. Remember, to get cold feet about something means to be nervous before a big event and often not be able to go through with it because of your nerves. To get cold feet. So there's some really nice idiomatic expressions there that you can try to use. Okay, the final part of our review, we're going to have a look at some parts of the body, and in each list there is one word that doesn't fit. So maybe, for example, the words might all be connected to your face except for one word which is part of your leg. So what we're going to do is have a look at the list of words, and I'm asking you which is the odd one out. Okay, so in our first row we have cheek, jaw, chin and shin. Number 2, we have thigh, palm, ankle and calf. In row 3, we have knuckle, spine, kidney and lungs. And in row 4, we have wrist, armpit, elbow and knee. So think about where these body parts are located and see if you can identify which one is located in a different part of your body. There's a big clue there. So pause the slide and then we'll check together. Okay, do you think you have the answers? Let's have a look. So, in our first row, we had cheek, jaw, chin, and shin. And the incorrect one was shin. Remember, cheek is here. These are your cheeks. Jaw is this part here. This is your chin, but your shin is the front part of your lower leg. We talked about shin pads, is the protective covering that footballers wear to protect their shins from being kicked. So shin is located on your leg. The other 3 are located on your face. Number 2, thigh, palm, ankle and calf. The odd one out here is palm, because thigh, ankle and calf are all located on your leg, whereas palm, do you know where your palms are? These are your palms, this part of your hand here. If you go to a fortune teller, for example, they might do a palm reading, but this is on your hand, whereas the other three are located on your leg. In row 3, we had knuckle, spine, kidney, and lungs. The odd word out here was knuckle. Spine, kidney, and lungs are all located internally. Spine is your backbone, and kidney and lungs are internal organs. Whereas knuckle is this part here of your hand. These are your knuckles. And the last one, wrist, armpit, elbow, and knee. The incorrect word there is knee, because wrist is here, armpit is here, elbow is here, but knee is the joint between your upper and lower leg, so it doesn't fit. Really, really well done if you managed to identify the incorrect word, and even better if you remembered where these were located on your body. Thank you very much for taking part in Review Lesson 6. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you are now ready to move on to Lesson 31. Lesson 31 is a grammar lesson, and we're focusing on gerund and infinitive, which is really important at this level. So I think it's going to be a really interesting lesson, and I hope you will join me. Goodbye for now.